President Obama will speak about the future of U.S. soldiers in Afghanistan. It comes more than a year and a half after he announced his troop surge. But this evening, he'll be speaking about something entirely different, the drawdown of American forces. There are three main ways that he can execute that drawdown. This is very important. Let's go over it. The smallest option would remove 10,000 troops this year. This is what the Pentagon wants, and coincidentally, it is also exactly what the defense contractors want. Longer wars make them a lot more money. The second option would remove 20,000 troops by the end of 2011. That's the middle ground, which is what President Obama usually goes with, but he might not actually in this case. And in the biggest withdrawal scenario, the president would remove almost 50,000 troops. There, Joe Biden would win because he has apparently been the one pushing this plan to his great credit. Under the last scenario, our Afghanistan strategy would then focus on counterterrorism and would mainly utilize special ops forces and CIA units to root out al-Qaeda and other terror groups. Now, of course, other people who win under those circumstances is us, the American people, because we spend less money on this senseless war and attack the problem with a much better solution. Now, that's not just me saying that. It is, in fact, the American people. A new poll shows that 56% want American forces removed immediately. That's up 16 points from just last year. But right now, all reports out of Washington are suggesting that President Obama will go with the first option, the removal of just 10,000 troops this year. Reports say the remaining 23,000 surge troops would be out by the end of next year, if we're lucky, and all troops would be home by 2014. Apparently, under the president's plan, everything happens at 2014. That is a much slower withdrawal, which is, of course, got to make defense contractors and war hawks ecstatic. And by the way, that withdrawal timeline only holds if Obama wins re-election. If a Republican wins, then all bets are off, and God knows how long we stay. But these are just reports. You'll get to see for yourself in just a little while which way the president is going to go. And based on the info here, you can judge for yourself if the president has done enough to withdraw us from this war or not. Stay tuned. All right, now joining me is Democratic strategist Bob Schrum, senior advisor to John Kerry in 2004, and Mark McKinnon, Daily Beast contributor, co-founder of No Labels, and former advisor to George W. Bush. Bob, let me start with you. If you look at it politically, the president should say up and at 'em, right? We got to go. Minimum 20,000. I think it should be a lot more. If the reports are true that it's only 10,000, why would he make what appears to be that political mistake?
Well, first of all, I think a lot of people in the Pentagon were telling him he should only take out 5,000 troops.
Yeah, of course. And they're telling him he should take out nothing because the defense contractors got a lot more money to make.
Well, I don't think that's the reason, actually. In defense of those guys in the Pentagon, it's because they think it's the right strategy. But look, presidents are
they always say, hey, Bob, can I ask you something? When's the last time the Pentagon has thought that more war wasn't the right strategy? They always think more war is the right strategy.
Colin Powell had a great reluctance to get into armed conflicts unless you did it with overwhelming force.
But he did it anyway in Iraq, and he did it anyway in Afghanistan.
He himself has said that he wished that he had taken a different course in Iraq. Iraq is I don't want to get into a political thing here about Iraq, but the president has shown the independence both to take on the Pentagon and dispense with their advice and not to just follow polls. He, in fact, defended his base from the very beginning by saying we had to, whatever his position on the Iraq war initially, we had to finish what we had started, and he then approved the surge in Afghanistan. Now, I think he's going to take out more troops sooner than the Pentagon wants, but slower than you want and slower than a lot of the base wants. And what this tells you is that he's not being driven by politics here.
Yeah, I don't believe that at all. Well, I don't believe that at all. Look, I think he is driven by being intimidated by the Pentagon because they come in and say, all right, you're going to take out almost nothing. And he goes, woo, I'm going to defy you guys and take out just a tad. If it's true, we're going to see for ourselves in the speech. If he takes out 20,000 or more at the end of this year, I give him all the credit in the world. So we'll see. But if he takes out 10,000, that's minuscule. That's not standing up to the Pentagon. Now, Mark, if you look at your party, the Republican Party, they don't look like they want to stay longer either. In 2010, we had a vote with 138 people in Congress and House saying we should speed up withdrawal, and it only had 7 Republicans on that side. This year, in 2011, all of a sudden, 204 in support and 26 Republicans. Are Republicans getting the message from the American people? We're not interested in staying in this godforsaken war?
Well, you know it's a political problem when you're getting heat from your left and from the right, and you see candidates like John Huntsman taking a a very aggressive position on the Republican side, asking for a quicker withdrawal. But I agree with Bob. You know, war is, with the exception of the Falklands, is never easy, popular, or quick. And you know, if it were just a political decision, I'm sure Obama would have pulled out troops quicker, faster, and earlier. But it's not a, you know, if you just do foreign interventions like these by the politics, then you're not really doing what you're supposed to do as president, which is to protect the country. And I'm going to give, you know, I can't make a military assessment, but I'm going to give the president the benefit of the doubt and assume that he's making a decision for the right reasons in the interest of our national security.
Yeah. Well, we're going to bring in somebody with a little different opinion here. We're going to do something a little different. Guys, I want you to hang on. I want to come back and talk about the politics a little bit more. But I'm going to bring in an interesting voice right now. I like these surprise guests. He has been a consistent voice in this debate, and he's been on the side of taking the troops out. Sure. He is Democratic representative from Ohio, Dennis Kucinich. Look at that, all of a sudden. All right, Congressman Kucinich, how many troops should President Obama take out in 2011?
All of them. This idea of this being the beginning of the end of the war, they could slow walk this war to the end of this decade. The American people have had it with the war in Afghanistan. We don't have the money to keep this war going. Afghanistan's a narco state. Our money that's going in there is being either wasted or stolen. It's time that we defended our troops by bringing them home and ending this war once and for all.
All right. Congressman, you know, we had everybody talking about this 33,000 surge that President Obama put in December of 2009, made that decision, right? But he'd actually put in 20,000 troops earlier, right? So if the speech is as expected, and he says, I'm going to take out 10,000 by the end of this year, and then 23,000 by the end of 2012, which is when his term is up, we'll have 20,000 more troops in Afghanistan than before President Obama. So could he then credibly claim that he is helping us get out of Afghanistan?
No, and I think what you're talking about as far as the math is not an academic exercise. We're actually going to still have more troops in Afghanistan than we had when he began his administration. We have got to have an administration take a strong stand in getting out. You can't be in and out at the same time. You can't claim that this is the beginning of the end of the war when you're still going to have more troops than when you first took office. The American people have priorities here at home that are not being met, and if we don't start paying attention to our domestic priorities, this country is going to have trouble surviving.
Now, Congressman, you know, I was just talking to Bob Schrum and Mark McKinnon, and they're saying, look, the president's probably making an earnest decision about the safety of our country, et cetera. And now that's, of course, a very legitimate position to have, a position a lot of people have. But as I look at this war for the last 10 years, how in the world could it be keeping us safer? There's almost no al-Qaeda left there. We killed bin Laden, and the more troops we put in, the more of our troops get killed, the more unstable the country becomes. It's almost a case you cannot make. So then that leads me to the question of, is he being intimidated by the Pentagon?
Well, I think that your recitation as far as what isn't and cannot happen is correct. In addition to that, the nation-building programs have just failed. So whether it's the president being intimidated by the Pentagon or whether there's a political calculus in this, I think that the president needs to listen to the voices of the American people who want us out of Afghanistan. They want their sons and daughters home. They want us focusing on creating jobs, helping us protect our educational system, making sure that we have retirement security for our seniors. These are things people care about, health care. It's time that we came home, and that's what I'm going to continue to insist on. I appreciate being with you. I've got to go vote right now.
All right, Congressman Kucinich, thanks so much for joining us. Go vote. All right, now let me bring Bob and Mark back in. Look, you know, Bob, I'm going to go back to this theory because, you know, you said it's not right, et cetera, but I want to have a conversation about it. Nobody else in Washington talks about this, but the defense contractors make an untold sums of money from these endless, ongoing wars. Are we to assume that their billions upon billions of dollars they make don't affect the politicians that they fund?
I don't think President Obama is listening to these folks. And in fact, if you look at what he's done, if you want to know what decisions he's going to make, listen to him. He said he was going to get all the combat troops out of Iraq by the end of this year. He did. He said he was going to stick with health reform, and everybody told him not to. He did. He said he's going to end the commitment in Afghanistan by 2014. He will. And in fact, the New York Times reports in its latest edition online that the Pentagon is unhappy with the decision the president's made because he's taking out more troops sooner than they would have wished. So no, I actually, Cenk, I agree with you. most of the time, but I don't agree with this theory that somehow or other a military-industrial complex is telling Obama what to do.
Okay, let me clarify. Okay, so because I don't want the audience to get a mistaken impression, right? I don't think that the Pentagon pulls or the military-industrial complex in a smoke-filled room pulls President Obama aside and says, "You better do this." No, that's not how it works. But here is how it works, Bob and Mark. It's that they give a tremendous amount of campaign donations to all the congressmen, to all the senators, to the presidents running, etc. And most importantly, to all those generals. As soon as they step out of office, they get a big fat contract from military contractors. And then you tell me that they are all independent, thinking that all that money they're going to make, hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions of dollars they're going to make from those defense contractors, don't influence their decisions, Mark?
No, I really don't. I give credit to both President Obama and President Bush. I think that President Bush didn't go to war because of for profit or for oil, for military contracts. He did it for the same reasons that President Obama is making the same decisions. At the end of the day, his job is to keep this country safe, and that's what he's basing his decisions on.
Mark, last thing for you. Look, Republicans are in a civil war over this. So many are starting to pull the chute, but John McCain, of course, war hawk that he is and always will be, says, no, we got to stay there. I guess he's saying we have to stay there forever. I've never heard him talk about withdrawal ever in Iraq or Afghanistan. Who ultimately do you think wins that fight in the Republican part?
Well, it'll be interesting to see, although I would just note that, as John McCain has said on many occasions, we still have troops in Korea and Germany, so it's
great.
There
we
are
should stay
places around
forever.
the world where we well, if it's to protect our national interests, I think that we'll have troops in Afghanistan for a long time and Iraq for a long time, just as we do in Germany and Korea. A limited force, but one that protects our national interests.
I have yet to see one decent argument how this war in Afghanistan 10 years later is somehow protecting our national interests. I don't see it at all. Look, I was in favor of going to war in the first place. At this time, it's a joke. It's crazy. But it's only getting us more killed.
Cenk, if you do what Congressman Kucinich said, and you pull everybody out right now, you are going to totally destabilize not just Afghanistan, where, by the way, we have made progress. You're going to destabilize Pakistan and India and the relationship between those two countries and threaten to bring on a nuclear war. So you can't
come on, Bob. Nuclear war? Now we're talking about nuclear war. Now we got a mushroom cloud?
There are nuclear arsenals in Pakistan that are not very safe. We have a situation there where the Pakistanis are afraid that the Indians are playing around in Afghanistan. The U.S. has to do this, get out of there in a way that is gradual and careful and preserves stability. That's what the president's doing.
Time.
And by the way, I don't want to sound like a conservative. I want to sound like an American. I give a lot of credit to these generals. I think they're patriotic. I also think they're sometimes wrong. And I think they probably ask for more than the president's going to give them. But that's the job of the president. They recommend, he decides.
All right. Bob Schrum and Mark McKinnon. Certainly an interesting conversation. You guys have been very patient. Thank you both for joining me tonight.